Welcome back to On Air B&B Football with Brandon and Bryce. Bryce and Brandon, thank you all for coming back, watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, whatever you're doing. We appreciate it. Today, we're coming at you with a special episode. We have a collab video with Dylan Mel NFL on YouTube.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
His channel. What's
going on? What's going on, boys?
So today we're coming at you with the worst to first video. So what we're going to be doing is to be like a little discussion format. We're going to try to find a way to make the teams that finished last place in their division last year to be first in the division this year, which means the Panthers could win their division, according to us.
I actually think the Panthers aren't the least likely worst first team of all of them.
Hey, you and me both, but you said it, so...
I'm not saying I'm predicting it. I'm just saying of all 8 teams we got to talk about today, the Panthers have an easier case than some of the other ones.
For sure. And just a little spoiler for the end of the video, I actually chose a team from each the AFC and the NFC that I thought is least likely to win their divisions.
Okay.
You guys could do that too if you want. It's up to you. But before we get into the video, make sure you go ahead, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Do it for Dylan too. Check out his channel. And let's go ahead and get into it. Last year, AFC East, New England Patriots got last place. Dylan, give me your best case for them to go worst to first.
Well, here's what I'll say. Some of the groundwork is certainly there for an improved season for the New England Patriots, so it's a little easier to picture them being a competitive team. They had the 5th-ranked defense in the NFL last year. Gerard Mayo's been in the system for a while, so you expect a good defense. But if they're going to win this division, and they're going to beat out the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Bills, the offense is going to need to take a step up. And Drake May is just going to have to start by week 2 or 3 and come out and actually be what Justin Herbert was. That's the comp he gets. He's just going to need to be Justin Herbert off the rip, essentially. It's not impossible because, again, top 3 pick guy, but that is the only way that they're going to get there because it's some divisions you could talk about an injury. This one, there's 3 teams ahead of them. Right now, probably, you're going to need to step up from Drake May for sure.
You said Drake May. Could it be Joe Milton, though? We've seen the news about him.
I guess it could be, theoretically, in a world. That is a crazier outcome, but we watched Brock Purdy be better than Trey Lance, so I guess
sure.
it's there.
It's definitely there, and I think we both called it before this season.
Did.
That we thought Joe Milton was a possible Kirk Cousins situation.
Well, it was the first time that those quarterbacks have been drafted in those same spots, and the last time it was RG3 and Kirk Cousins. So it's gonna maybe there's a video. There's a clip of us somewhere before Colin Cowherd that's saying it.
Yep.
I mean, they have higher ceilings than Jacoby Brissett, so whichever one of them gets in there for sure.
Yeah, man. Bryce, what's your take on it? Do you agree with Dylan? Do you have any differences in opinion of how they would get to first?
They don't have a case to get to first. It's not going to happen. There's no that division is stacked.
But if you had to make,
I don't have one. There is none for them. Like I mean,
that case is there. That's a good enough roster. And Brandon Ayuk has not been traded yet. They're one of the teams.
They are, but I mean. What they've been saying about Drake May is he's not ready. Like, I mean, we saw it in college tape too. Like, his footwork isn't there. I mean, he underthrew balls, overthrew balls. Like, it's just not there yet. I just don't see that, just in that division, how it's stacked up. If all 3 of those teams, the Jets, Dolphins, Bills, stay healthy, play good, it's going to be those 3 running away with it and the Patriots.
Well, 2 of them. One of those 3 teams isn't that good.
Oh, who's he talking about?
I think I know who he's talking about. Who are you talking about, Dylan?
I'm talking about the Dolphins.
Oh wow!
Oh, wow! I thought I was gonna say the Jets.
No, I am so out on the Dolphins. That could be another video.
As a playoff team, I'm not out on them as winning games during the season.
Right.
The offense is really good.
I will be betting their under wins for the year.
I know we did the same, but I don't know if we chose the under for the Dolphins or not.
I don't know what the line is even, but I'm sure I'll bet the under.
Like 9.
I think it's 9.5.
Probably. That's probably where it's around.
I do know that the Patriots are actually the one team in the whole NFL that's least likely to win their division according to the sports books.
I think they were like 4.5 or something.
So,
this season.
well, at least that you could bet because you couldn't bet the Panthers at the time. But
that's crazy. That's crazy. They were just like, no,
exactly. But I mean, 4.5 wins for the Patriots. I took the over and put $10 on it.
I think
because it can't hurt. Can't hurt. But
I think that's. I think they're going to hit that over for
Yeah.
sure.
But they were 4-13 last year. So
Yeah.
it was hard
And-
when we were trying to figure out how many wins they get. We
Although
looked
we'll see,
I was
with
like,
Matt, they also need for to go from worst to first. They need Matt Judon back in the building.
well, I
Yeah,
think they have one of
I
the hardest
he
schedules.
came
too.
back.
He
Did they have
came
one?
back, but he's
I think
not
they-
extended.
Is it mid?
I don't know if he's playing without more
Oh,
money.
yeah, that's right. But I mean, either way, I expect their defense to be good again.
Mhm.
It's just I feel like you said, everything has to go right. I mean, if you
Yeah,
can
I mean,
squeak out
and if
2
you
wins,
need Jalen Polk to hit, you need Javon Baker to hit, you
Mhm.
need Drake May to hit. Like you guys said, it's probably not likely, but
we'll go ahead and move on to the AFC West. My division, the Los Angeles Chargers finished last in their division. I don't think this one's too far. But Bryce, you first. Go ahead and give me your worst to first case for them.
This is going to be hard for them to top the Chiefs. The Chiefs have won the division for how many years in a row?
8 now.
Yeah, so it's on a little bit of a streak there. The Raiders and the Broncos, there's teams that are rebuilding like completely. The Chargers are also kind of in that mindset, even though they have a quarterback. I see the Chargers; they could possibly be second in that division. They could. I mean, like the Patriots, everything's got to go right for them. That defense hasn't been good in years. Can't stop the run. Can't. I mean, people throw all over them too, but that offense. Those wide receivers are going to have to hit. Those young guys are going to have to step up. McConkey, I mean, Brendan Rice, maybe he hits. Quentin Johnson's going to have to be good.
show Josh Palmer some love over there.
So Josh Palmer, little slot love over there, but those running backs are going to have to do what they came there to do, and they're going to have to run the football good. And I mean, Justin Herbert will be Justin Herbert, but it's going to be hard to top the Chiefs, of course.
Yeah, Dylan.
They need some combination of Jim Harbaugh being football Jesus and Patrick Mahomes missing games. That is realistically what they need to win this division. I do agree with Bryce that I think that they have a pretty good case for second. I mean, I know Bryce has him as a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. They better get second over the Broncos and Raiders at this point. But first, it's tough, man. I mean, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. You guys, I know that to a very high level, but in reality, without injury to Patrick Mahomes, this isn't happening.
I like the sound of that. I love the compliments, guys. Just keep them coming.
Hold on, maybe Jim Harbaugh just needs to send someone over and steal some signals off someone else's side.
Little Belichick.
Yeah. I mean, he did in college.
He was raised to not cheat, not steal, and all those morals, and he will not apologize for winning a national title and then immediately leaving Michigan and not facing any repercussions. Now seems like a good time to get out of here.
Leave on a good note. Yeah, I mean, what y'all said, it's pretty summed up there. I think Justin Herbert has the talent to elevate the team around him, and if Harbaugh is the coach that they expect him to be, and everything works out right, and the weapons aren't as bad as we think, and maybe QJ comes out and he actually looks good, that's their absolute best way to win the division, because they obviously don't have much competition with Minshew or Bo Nix, whoever it is over there in Denver. Or Aiden O'Connell, sorry. But it's a matter of Mahomes, a juggernaut, in the way. Like you said, Mahomes would have to probably miss some games in order for them to...
And I think he'd have to miss like a lot of games too.
Yeah,
I don't even think like if he missed 4 games, I still like think the Chiefs team is better.
Well, yeah, you saw, I think it was in 2020 when we won our second Super Bowl, or first Super Bowl.
He like busted his kneecap that season, right?
Which, I think it was Matt Moore at the time that came in, and he won, 2 games for us out of the 3 that he missed? So
yeah, because not only do you have Mahomes, we have the best coach in the NFL in Andy Reid, and
exactly.
Obviously in 2020, Travis Kelce was way more in his prime, but you got a generational play caller.
Yeah, absolutely. Chiefs for a 9th or 10th year, however many it is. I like it.
Yeah.
We'll move on. AFC North. Your boys.
Yeah,
Bryce.
it's going to be tough.
So
wait, didn't the Bengals come in last to that division last year?
Okay, yeah. It's going to be tough for everybody in that division.
Because Joe Burrow got injured with a thumb injury. And before we get started, I want to say that I was actually watching a video. I can't remember who it is, but it's a doctor who he has his own YouTube channel, all this and that. And he was saying how Burrow's thumb injury was not as minor as they make it out to be, and a lot of players that in different sports they have a hard time coming back from. So I would love nothing more than that. I'm sure you probably wouldn't either, Bryce.
Wouldn't mind it.
But it's pretty simple for the Bengals to win that division. Burrow looks like Burrow again. Chase Higgins, their whole offense, their defense. The OC leaving doesn't really make a difference. So they just got to gel back together and have a little bit of luck with, the rest of the team in the division maybe not looking so good.
Yeah, I thought that they had a pretty good offseason overall. They lose Tyler Boyd and Brian Callahan to Tennessee, but, they bring in their new offensive coordinator. They draft Jermaine Burton. They lose Jonah Williams, which might be addition by subtraction, if you ask me. They bring in Trent Brown. The defense adds Geno Stone. I think the big thing for the Bengals that's really in favor of them potentially doing this is them being in fourth. The NFL came up with their schedules, and the three of the four hardest schedules are the Ravens, the Browns, and the Steelers, and then the Bengals are quietly at 17 on that list. So they have a way easier schedule than everybody in their division.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's probably why I have the Bengals probably as my favorite too. I mean, it is my division, so of course I don't want them to win, but they probably have the best case just because of the team that they, are, the roster they have, and that division. That division is wide open. It's not just the Ravens division. It's wide open now. It's a whole new season.
For sure.
So I mean, they were 9-8 last year. I mean, everybody was separated by 1-2 games. So the Bengals definitely have probably, I would say, the best case in my opinion to win that division, even though I would hate that so much. But like I said, those other three teams have those really tough games, and the Bengals don't.
Right.
So
it's not much of an argument there.
Yeah.
That's basically it. I mean, other teams you really got to argue and say a lot more words for, but
yeah. Not a miracle needed this time.
Exactly. And last division in the AFC South, Tennessee Titans, they finished last place in their division. Dylan, give me your take on how they go worst to first.
I think the Titans are a sneaky good team as is. I really like what they did to their defense. They completely flipped that secondary on its head. They went from McKinney and Amani Hooker to those two guys, plus L'Jarius Sneed, plus Shadubie Awuzie, plus Jamal Adams, and they just added Quandre Diggs last night. So they're going to be a mean secondary to face. Realistically, their jump relies on two things: the Texans not taking a leap and Will Levis being good. And I don't mean he has to be great. He could just be a top 15 guy. And with that defense and Ridley, Tyler Boyd, DeAndre Hopkins, Spears, Tony Pollard, they have the pieces that they could win a competitive AFC South and sneak out 10, 11 wins. I don't think it's too far off for them. They brought in Brian Callahan, who we just talked about with the Bengals, as their new head coach, offensive-minded guy. So this is a team that I wouldn't be shocked if they made the playoffs, to be honest.
For sure. I mean,
yeah.
I think it rides on Levis's shoulders mainly. I mean, obviously, Callahan has to come over and look pretty good like he did in Cincy, but you wonder if Burrow and Chase and all that team really carried him. I think it's a very good possibility that, maybe the sophomore slump that none of us expect for C.J. Stroud comes, and then the Jaguars continue to look mid, and the Colts, maybe Richardson gets hurt again, and you never know. I think it's one of those divisions that's somewhat wide open, especially with how many moves those Titans have made this year, regardless of losing Derrick Henry.
Yeah, the pressure is definitely on the Texans this year just because what they did in the offseason. Everybody's expecting C.J. Stroud to jump to top 3 quarterback, basically. Like we've said before, we like the Titans. They're a sneaky good team this year. We were predicting maybe 9 wins for them this year. It looks like they could, that roster that they did on defense, and then it does ride on Will Levis though, like you guys are saying. He's got to become their franchise quarterback for them to win that division.
He's not to look like he did in his first game.
Yeah, I think for them to make the playoffs, he's got to be a top 15 quarterback. But I think for them to win that division, he's got to play at C.J. Stroud's last year's level. He's got to play like a top 10 quarterback. He's got the talent to do it. He's got the legs. He's got the arm to do it.
Just no awareness.
No awareness at all.
Well, the big thing for them is going to be that offensive line because if you look at Will Levis's stats last year, you're going to look at that and be like, what are these guys talking about that he could take a leap? But he was pressured more than any quarterback should be early on. And I think that's part of the reason Tennessee went with Brian Callahan, because they get his father, who's one of the best offensive line coaches in the NFL. They take J.C. Latham at pick 7. They're moving him over to left tackle. Like, they are definitely working on that offensive line right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's set for 2024, but that is a big part of how they would be this playoff team or win this division for sure.
Yeah, they have to. I mean, I think they were ranked, 31st worst ranked O-line last year or something.
It was bad.
But, I mean, yeah, you didn't need to watch many Titans games just to see that. But, yeah, Will Levis just has to come through.
Yeah, they do need a little bit of help in that running game too, which is going to be interesting to see with Pollard and Spears. Yeah, I know we like Spears a little bit, but would Derrick Henry have helped them maybe a little bit this year? I don't know, or if they want to go in a different direction. We got those pass catching backs with Pollard and Spears maybe, so maybe that can help Will Levis a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, okay, so we went through the whole AFC. Just to recap that. Bryce, who would you say is least likely to win their division out of all the AFC teams?
Least likely to win their division?
Yeah, out of the losers last year.
Oh, I would say the Patriots.
Right. I mean, Dylan, you have any argument with that?
No, I don't think so. I don't know though. I might say the Chargers. Like, are the Chiefs better as an overall unit than the Bills, Dolphins, and Jets combined?
Right. I think
I won't say the Chargers because they clearly have an established elite quarterback in Herbert, but I don't think they're too far off.
I hear what you're saying. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
Chargers.
I would probably put I'd probably put the Chargers under the Patriots just because of the Bengals and the Titans.
Right. But I do think the Titans may be second in the AFC that could go from worst first. I don't know.
They could, or they could just sit there and not sit still.
Yeah.
I think that AFC South, aside from the Texans, who I think are pretty secure lock into finishing first or second, I think Jacksonville, the Colts, and the Titans, any one of them could finish second through fourth, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, exactly. And okay, that's the AFC. We'll move on to the NFC real quick. Let's bust through this. We got the NFC East. The Washington Commanders finished last in the division, and I want to start off this time by saying that the Commanders might not be that far off, just because. And I know you're an Eagles fan, Dylan. Don't take this too bad. I just want to say that I think it's been 20 years of
just a change in the winner.
Yeah, no winner has been a repeat winner.
Isn't
so last year it was the Cowboys. This year we have it set as the Eagles. Okay, we're betting men. We're gonna bet on the Eagles.
Yeah,
but that doesn't leave out the possibility of the Commanders or maybe even the Giants, which feels like we should be making a case for them.
No, that is not happening.
Exactly.
I'll hear you on the Commanders, but I won't listen to the Giants.
I'm glad we don't have to make that case. That's all I got to say to that. But, I mean, the Commanders, yes, they made a lot of mid moves this offseason, but they did make a lot of moves. They're trying to better their team. They got Dan Quinn. Maybe that defense doesn't look as bad as it did after they traded away Chase Young and Montez Sweat. And, maybe Eckler turns out to help Brian Robinson a little more.
Here's the thing with the Commanders. They flipped 67% of their roster is brand new, whether that's rookies or free agents, which obviously will be good for the future. It's tough to put all those pieces together in year one, but if we're making a case for why they'll be better, 67% of the roster is brand new. You brought in Jaden Daniels with the number 2 pick in the draft. Terry McLaurin's one of the more underrated wide receivers. Dan Quinn has led a team to the Super Bowl before as a head coach with a good offensive coordinator. Maybe we were all wrong on Cliff Kingsbury, and maybe it's a Cardinals foundational problem, and it wasn't him. That's the case. As well, I think the NFC East is the weakest it's been in a while. The Giants are just bad. And the Cowboys are one CeeDee Lamb injury away from having one of the most inept offenses in the NFL. And I'm an Eagles fan, obviously, but if they didn't fix the problems with that defense, Jaden Daniels has a great deep ball. The Commanders could easily do some work against them this year. And if it comes down to a divisional tie, I could see both those teams being 10-7. and Washington takes it. Again, this is in the Commanders' hypothetical winning world, but it's not as far off as the Patriots.
It would still feel pretty crazy though. I don't think anything is gonna.
Yeah, it would be crazy. I think it's gonna take Jaden Daniels RG3 rookie season to the playoffs is what they're gonna need from him. Like they're gonna need him to be that second pick that leads them there. I don't think he's gonna be that at least yet this year.
If he doesn't wreck his body, it's possible.
Yeah, I mean I think he's a more explosive runner than like RG3 was, of course, back then. But I mean, I don't think that's gonna translate much now to that offense. I mean, you have Eckler, you have Brian Robinson there. They're not like Eckler's older. But Eckler could help him a lot. You know,
in the pass
in the pass game, yeah, he could help him a lot. He has a decent receiving core to throw to, which I mean, he's got a better situations than some other guys. But I mean, I don't see them overtaking the Eagles or Cowboys this year.
Right, if we're being realistic.
I don't see it, but
they can win some games.
If the case was there, it's, you do have a top 2 pick at quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, he just needs to not run like he's 300 pounds and actually act like the, 190 pounder that he is.
Yeah, so 190 might be generous.
Yeah, it might be. I mean, I was trying to give him a little bit more than maybe what I thought, but all right, we'll go on to NFC West. This is a division I'm actually excited to talk about. Because the Arizona Cardinals, if you've watched any sort of my videos, pretty much it feels like every time I mention the Cardinals and how I think they're going to be this crazy team this year.
You just wear red for the Cardinals, not the Chiefs.
No. Okay. Yeah. For now, for this segment, just cover up the Chiefs logo. But the Cardinals, yes, they finished last. But Murray wasn't there for the majority, and when he was there playing with a McBride who didn't have Zach Ertz in front of him, you saw that connection go crazy. And then Marvin Harrison added on top of it, and then you got a good second in Zay Jones or Michael Wilson, or maybe you bring Greg Dortch into the fold again. Who knows?
I mean, he'll be their slot wide receiver.
Exactly. And then you got Trey Benson.
Yeah, Trey Benson
too.
Yeah,
so
I like that.
I just think a lot of their offense looks good. And then they did draft some defensive players as well. I think it was Darius Robinson. So
yeah, they took Robinson. They took the corner out of Rutgers, Max Melton, and they even got a pretty good steal in the 3rd round. His name's slipping me right now, but I believe the corner out of Boston College.
Okay.
So I just did a team preview video on the Cardinals for the record. That's why I know they're 3rd and 4th round picks. I'm not some big, Cardinals nerd over here. I just did their team
video.
Like
me for real. But as for how they would win the division, it's pretty simple to me. I think that, first of all, I personally feel like the Niners are going to be on a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover. I think that the Rams, you heard Puka get injured, yesterday or today? So it's a little bit of maybe the Rams look like they were going to before the season last year. And then the Seahawks, I don't feel like are going to be contenders, even though they did add Ryan Grubb as their OC. Now, I don't know. It's this full belief in the Cardinals. I think it's very possible. I think they may be the most likely to go from worst to first in the NFC.
I don't agree with that, thinking about the other divisions, but I do think the Cardinals are better than people think. They are much better than the 4 wins that they had last season. As soon as Kyler Murray got back, they doubled their win total. They were very underrated in terms of rushing the football. They were 7th in the NFL, and that's just with James Conner. Now they add the most explosive back in the class in Trey Benson. Marvin Harrison Jr., a true alpha wide receiver prospect. Putting him at the 1 fills out the rest of this offense. Not only do you have a great talent in Marvin, but now everybody else is in their right spot. Michael Wilson, Zay Jones are the other outside 2s. Greg Dortch in the slot is very nice. Trey McBride, now the defense can't just focus in on him. Gannon builds up that defensive line, drafts Darius Robinson. You have Justin Jones, who you brought over from Chicago. You have a very young secondary. I don't know if they get there this year, but 2025, they're going to have $80-something million in cap space going into this offseason. It is not unrealistic to think they could win this division then. If they were going to this year, Kyler Murray might need an MVP level season, though.
I think it's possible. I have bets on it. Just saying.
You have bets on it, but I don't think it's happening either. Sorry. Sorry, pal.
I know I'm alone on this.
I
but
know
it's not that
you're
far from
alone.
right.
You're alone, but like, I mean, I'm a big Rams advocate this year. We're both in that division. I mean, we'll see who comes out.
Okay.
Maybe neither of us, but like, so I have the Rams. I have the Rams. I don't know if I have them winning that division. I still like the 49ers this year. That roster is still probably one of the best rosters in the NFL, just talent wise. You got Christian McCaffrey back there. Of course, he's got to stay healthy.
Even if they lose it, Ayuk.
I was just about to say, even if they lose,
they better
Ayuk,
pay Trent Williams, because I'll tell you what, if they lose him, it's cooked for them.
Yeah,
they already
that's
have
true.
like one of like the worst offensive lines in football, and Trent Williams just like keeps them afloat.
Yeah, he keeps them alive over there. Just run behind him the entire game. But I mean, he's still got a top tight end in Kittle. You still got a top defensive line. That secondary over there, I thought they would do more in the draft for it, but they didn't. But you have that linebacking core, which is the best in the NFL. I just think the 49ers as a whole are the best team in that division. Maybe, I mean, best roster possibly in the NFL. And I also like the Rams with their receivers, Kyron Williams, Stafford's up there. I mean, Stafford's getting older. He's going to want to try for another Super Bowl. Their defense is a little iffy. It's going to have to lean on that offense for them to score, but I still think their offense is better than the Cardinals right now.
And Seattle added Mike McDonald,
defensive coordinator as a head coach.
D'Amico Ryans. I mean,
if you just had CJ Stroud carry him.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, it could be that, but Ryan Grubb comes up from Washington to be their OC. That Washington offense looked pretty good. If you get the right OC, you're fine as a defensive head coach.
I mean,
I'm not predicting Seattle. What I was just saying is the NFC West is going to be competitive.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
And I mean, I make the argument against the defensive head coach, but then there's the Cardinals too. So
yeah, Jonathan Gannon.
Yeah, but
I just think saw what he did in the Super Bowl against your Chiefs. How did he look?
I am piggybacking Kyler Murray. Okay,
Gannon gets a little bit too much heat from that. Some of it's just personnel,
he does,
which we found out the following year.
Y'all had the best defense all year, so
yeah. Like I said, some of it's just the secondary personnel, which was exposed the following year when he left. They got worse, not better.
Yep. All right, and then NFC North, Chicago Bears. Got the number 1 pick, drafted Caleb Williams. Bryce, what's your case? I know you're somewhat of a big Bears guy this year.
I'm a big Bears guy this year. So I've liked the Lions still better than the Bears this year. They're just a way better roster. But the Bears are very interesting. I have the Bears. I think I would have them winning probably 9-10 games this year, I think. I mean, they won 7 last year. And that roster is completely flipped now. They did some work on the defense. They added Keenan Allen. They just signed DJ Moore to a bigger deal. They got a Dunze in the draft. They have DeAndre Swift back there at running back. Like, they loaded up that offense and that defense also. It's just, I mean, we're going to have to see what Caleb Williams does. It's all based off of him. If he is the number 1 pick, plays like he did, I mean, he had a little bit of a down year last year in college, but I mean, if he is what he was in his Heisman season, I mean, he can lead this Bears team. I mean, he can lead them to a division title. It's just, I mean, it's going to be hard over those Lions.
Yeah. And the Packers.
And your Packers.
Sean?
Yeah, the case for the Bears is pretty easy. I'm not saying this is the case, but it's on the board that they have the best quarterback in their division by the end of the season. It's on the board. Caleb Williams could easily have a CJ Stroud level season. We all agree that CJ Stroud's the best quarterback in the AFC South. And if Caleb Williams came in and he gets compared to your guy Mahomes, I mean,
that's really the only guy to compare him to. There's no other guy to.
I'm just saying, if he started playing like Mahomes-esque,
right,
it's certainly possible he's better than Jared Goff. And Jordan Love, maybe he's a roller coaster type guy. Maybe he's got high highs and low lows, and that's a full season. The Bears have the best weapons core, potentially. I mean, the top 3 receivers, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and Rome Odunze. That's pretty good stuff that they're sending out there. Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett they brought in, Swift, Herbert, Roschon Johnson. I believe they improved on the offensive line. I think they have 2 young tackles set now for themselves. And the defense, you have Jalen Johnson, you have Jaquan Brisker, you have a defensive head coach, which I know you don't like, but what's the weak part of their team? It's the defense. His job to boost them up. I think from a talent perspective,
they got Shane Waldron as their OC, which the Seahawks hate.
Yeah, I am not a huge fan of it. but I forget what the guy's name that they had last year, but he was just inept. So I think the Bears will be happy with anything other than who they had last
Yeah.
year.
Yeah. I think y'all are gonna hate me for my take. It's just because I don't think I think they might be. Let me just reword this. I'm gonna say that the Bears are really gonna struggle to meet the expectations of the general media, the NFL community, everybody. I think that you're putting a ton of pressure on Caleb Williams coming in, and not to say that he can't handle it because he's shown that he can. It's just a matter of rookie year, and you have to beat Jordan Love, the guy who just got paid like he's been playing starter for the 4 years that he's been in the league.
Mhm.
And then you got to beat the Lions, who we've talked about dome golf this year.
Dome golf this year, baby.
You know, the first 13 of his first 14 games are in a dome, and then they got another one later in the year. So I think, first of all, the Lions are going to have that 1-2 punch of Goff and Amon-Ra, but you got to get through them. And then if you get through them, you got to get through the Packers. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
what if the Vikings, they still have Justin Jefferson. So you can't rule them out completely.
Yeah, it's a very loaded division. It might be the best in
Yeah.
football, if we're being honest. Competing, the two North divisions are up there. Again, I think the Lions win this division. If we were doing a predictions episode, that's where I would have landed. But in terms of pure talent, I think this might be the most talented fourth place team we talked about today.
Oh yeah, I definitely think that.
On paper, yes.
Yeah,
we
for
haven't
sure.
seen it in action because, I mean, it's like
Well,
most of their
to be
offensive
fair, we
talent.
have seen Keenan Allen in action. We have
Well,
seen
yeah,
DJ
yeah.
Moore. Like, we've seen some of their players that are good in action, and this was a 7-win team last year that now
Yeah.
adds
Right,
Caleb
I just
Williams
mean
and adds
altogether.
Rome Odunze and adds Keenan Allen, adds Swift. Like, it's just not a normal first overall pick team.
No, yeah, like the pressure and the hype is there. Like, is it going to be too much? Are we overhyping it? Like,
I'm
I
taking
mean-
it you're out on the Bears, Brandon. Like, that's
he's more on. Yeah, he's
like,
definitely on.
so
He's Packers this year.
I am Packers.
they went 7-10 last year. Do you think
Yeah.
like what do you think?
I think their
they do?
over under is set at 9.5 or 8.5, one of the two. I
think
can't
it's 8.
can't remember, but I think
Uh-huh.
me and Bryce, I think I got at nine wins.
I think I haven't either. I'm at 9 or 10.
But I just think that
8.5.
first of all, when you have to
According to
face
Fox, which was the first thing that came up when I googled it.
okay, well, I mean, I think when you got to face, I think the Packers are still going to be crazy good, and I think the
Mhm.
Lions are going to be crazy good. And I'm not ruling out the Vikings as bad as it seems like their team is on paper.
I
I'm
hate
not
JJ
ruling them out.
McCarthy. I think he stinks.
I'm with
Well,
you.
I love
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson. Okay,
Yeah.
and I love Kevin O'Connell,
Yeah.
and I just think that they're going to find a way to squeak out 7 wins. Same record as last season. But not to say that Caleb Williams can't be successful, because I really do think he will be. I just think it'll take a little bit longer. He's not going to have the crazy rookie year that we've all seen. He might have
And-
similar stats to C.J. Stroud last year.
Does
But-
any of this stem from the fact that if Caleb hits, he could be chasing Mahomes?
Nobody's chasing Mahomes. Don't even. Josh Allen doesn't even have one Super Bowl, and I mean,
Caleb arguably has an easier path in the NFC.
maybe, but it's
If you dropped Mahomes on the Bears, I would argue that it's
Could've been.
easier for him to get to the
Yeah,
Super
Bears.
Bowl.
yeah. Well, obviously, if Patrick
well,
Mahomes is anywhere, but
No. I just meant like if Patrick Mahomes could move the Chiefs and swap their spot with the Bears, he would. If he
say
could,
that again.
like, if Patrick Mahomes could move his team to the NFC, I think like that would be better for him.
Oh, well,
than
yeah,
to
'cause
be in the
it's
AFC.
Nobody good. I mean,
Well, that's
for the
my
most
point,
part,
though.
Niners
If
and the
Jalen Hurts doesn't get to where we
Gamblers.
thought he was, and Brock Purdy loses Trent Williams, and the Lions are still Jared Goff, and Caleb Williams ends up being Mahomes-esque. I mean, he could just run the NFC the way that
Yeah,
Mahomes does the AFC.
yeah, if he's as good, and that's what it would take for them to win the division for sure.
Yeah.
So I mean, it rides on their whole offense, at least flipping what they did last year. I mean, they've got pretty much a whole new offense. So if they can gel together and Caleb Williams is who they say he is, then absolutely they could win the division. I just think it's going to be a little bit tougher for them with the Lions and Packers ahead.
Shout out Nick Wright, who's picking the Bears to win the NFC.
I will never shout out Nick Wright.
Hey,
boy.
fellow Chiefs fan,
Yes, your boy.
it's your boy.
No, no. Next. NFC South, the final team. Dylan, I'm gonna let you lead off with this one. You rubbing your hands over there.
I picked the Panthers
Carolina.
to win their division last year, and it
Wow.
was a fail of a take if I have had one. But I mean, to be fair, the NFC South stinks. So like picking a team to win it is like not exactly picking the team to be amazing. I ended up winning it at 9 wins, I think.
Right.
The way that they win this division is Bryce Young is what we thought he was. I cannot believe the amount of stock that was sold on a guy who didn't succeed with DJ Chark and Adam Thielen as his receiving core and a bad offensive line and Miles Sanders as his running
terrible
back.
head coaching spot too. They left.
Yeah,
coaches
they had his head
yeah.
coach change in the middle of the season.
Right.
I can't believe how much fell on his lap somehow as to like, you're the problem.
Right.
Now, this year is the team a lot better? No. But it is better. You add Jadeveon Clowney, you add some pieces to that secondary, you have J.C. Horn, a full healthy season, hopefully. The big thing for me is Dave Canales. In 2022, we saw him take Geno Smith to a 4,000-yard passer. That team won 10 games and they made the playoffs. The following years, they win 9, but they just don't even look close to the same as an offense.
And then Baker.
Last year, Baker, he
Mhm.
takes Baker to the divisional round and makes him look the best he's ever looked. If there's somebody that's going to get what Bryce Young is out of Bryce Young, it's going to be Dave Canales. I worry about the receiving core. Deontay Johnson, Deontay Dropson, we'll see. Xavier Legette, already dealing with a knee injury. You don't like to see that. Jatavion Sanders, how good is this guy going to be off the gate? Jonathan Brooks, still recovering. They say
Don't
he's
forget
probably
Adam
not playing.
Thielen.
Yeah, Adam Thielen as a 5th option isn't as bad.
He was good. He was a good. He was a good
number one,
option for Bryce
number
Young.
one last year.
He was good for 4 weeks before he realized he was old.
Right. Right.
But again, the NFC South, I think a lot of people are putting stock in the Falcons that maybe pump the brakes on Kirk Cousins coming off the torn Achilles. Does Baker without Dave Canales kind of get a Geno Smith syndrome of last year? Does Bryce Young with him get Baker syndrome from last year? Like, I think it is. I won't be surprised if it happens. I'll say that. But again, I was higher on Bryce Young and the Panthers than most, even last year.
See, I wasn't with you last year, but I'm on it this year. I mean, it's not even close to as much as my hype for the Cardinals, but I've been somewhat on the Panthers train this year in the sense of I definitely think they're beating their over under. I think it's at like 4, 3.5,
Not a
4.5.
was what it is.
So it wasn't at the time.
Too
we were
many
having
people
fun
are
at
betting
it.
the over.
But I really think that Dave Canales, like you said, I've been saying the same exact thing to the T of Dave Canales is going to change Bryce Young. Even if it's just a little bit better, he's going to be a little bit better at least. I mean, like you said, also the rest of their division is not very good. And maybe I think that Baker and the Bucks take a little bit of a step back without Canales. And you see a little bit more of the reckless tendencies that you saw in Baker's last 4 years in the league. And, the Falcons and Saints, I mean, Cousins off an Achilles and Derek Carr.
The thing with Tampa, too, is their new offensive coordinator is their quarterback's coach, which is exactly what the Eagles did. They lost a really good offensive mind in Steichen and promoted Brian Johnson, the quarterback's coach, because that's what Jalen Hurts wanted. And I'm telling you, that can end badly. As somebody who was there. Sometimes the quarterback's coach is just a quarterback hype man, and he just thinks, I could call anything and my quarterback will do it.
Yeah. I mean, he's just kind of not wrong, but I mean, I like the Panthers. I think it's a very good possibility they come out on top of that division. Actually, let me rewind. I don't want to say very good possibility.
Very good for the purposes of this video.
Right. And I think it's a better shot than maybe the Saints have and maybe the Buccaneers at this point. I don't know. But what do you think, Bryce?
Yeah, I'm not gonna jump on your guys' Panther train at all.
Somebody's got to keep us in, Dylan.
So I'm on the Falcon train this year. That's where I'm going. We know that. So even though Kirk's coming off an Achilles, that you haven't. Well,
Just go.
even though Kirk's coming off that Achilles, I mean, you look at that Falcons. You look at those weapons that the Falcons have on offense. You got Pitts, you got London, you got Bijan Robinson in that backfield. You got all those guys back there. So we've never seen London or Pitts with a quarterback who can get them the ball consistently, right? So you look at Pitts when he had Matt Ryan. I mean, he was a 1,000-yard receiver his rookie year. You look at London. I mean, he's never had a guy to get him the ball. You look at Bijan, who got half the carries last year and was almost 1,000-yard rusher. So you add all those in. I mean, Kirk, I don't think he'll have to do as much if they can feed Bijan, and that defense, it's okay, but I think that offense is going to have to do more, and I think that offense is probably the best in that division to lead them. So I like the Falcons in that division.
On paper, they're the best.
Yeah, on paper they're the best, and the Panthers, I like what they did a little bit this offseason, but I'm not ready to throw them. I'll throw them not above anybody really. I mean, I think they can beat the Saints in that division, but I don't see them beating out the Falcons or the Bucks.
Okay, so when you end it off like that, unless Dylan, you got anything else to add on the Panthers?
No, I mean, if I was betting my life on it, I wouldn't bet on them. But
Well, right.
you know, I do think that Bryce Young is better than what we saw last year.
I definitely think
and
that
then
too, yeah.
you add Dave Canales. So I think like Bryce Young will take a massive leap visually. I don't
Right.
think he'll necessarily become a better player at a high extent. I'm sure like Canales will help him improve a little bit, like you said, but I think to the eye test and statistically, it's going to look like night and day. I don't even think he had 10 passing touchdowns last year.
No.
So
No.
I mean, that's pretty bad.
Right. I think he'll show flashes.
Yeah.
For sure.
I do think though, I know Deontay isn't, the best receiver, but I definitely think he'll be that number one receiver in Carolina, that he will help him. I mean, he's gonna drop passes.
I mean, since 2019, he has the 6th most targets.
Yeah. So he'll get the ball. I mean, he's a great route runner. He gets open. So I think he'll definitely help him. You can have Thielen in the slot. I mean, we'll see what Leggett is, but I mean that offense I think it should look a lot better. He has a little bit more weapons now. That maybe they can get that running game going. Maybe Jonathan Brooks comes in later in the season, and we'll see what happens. But
For sure. Yeah, I mean, well, with that said, then do you think the Panthers are the least likely to win their division in the NFC, or is it some other team that we mentioned?
so based off of least likely, I'm gonna go with the Cardinals still. Just because I think the 49ers and Rams are so much better still. I'm not ready to jump on the Cardinals.
Hurts my heart.
I'm not ready to jump
Hating.
on it. Like you said, like maybe in 2025 they have all that cap. They can build a great team maybe then, but I mean, least likely you look at those, I mean, probably the Cardinals in that division. Or the Panthers.
I get that. Dylan, go ahead.
I think it's the Commanders. The way that I think this through is if you are going to go from worst to first, it's going to need to be like the Texans. You're going to need that head coach quarterback combo to hit. For the Cardinals, Kyler Murray back a full year. Gannon, we'll see, but that could be a good combo, especially with Kyler. We saw it successful at the end of the year. For the Bears, you have Caleb. We know what he is. I think he's clearly better than Jaden Daniels to what we know right now. That's why he was the consensus easy number one overall pick. And then for Carolina, I don't know if you want to say Bryce Young's better than Jaden Daniels, but that division's just way worse. So for me, the pathway of Jaden Daniels hitting, Dan Quinn being great, Cliff Kingsbury being great,
Right.
and the Cowboys who have won 12 games the last 3 years, and the Eagles who are projected to win the division collapsing, it would take a lot of dominoes falling for the Commanders.
Yeah.
For sure. Bryce, you already know. Dylan, can you take a guess at who I think is the least likely?
Since you're calling on me, I'm gonna guess the Bears, who I
Yeah,
proclaimed was the
I
most
know it.
likely.
Yeah. So
I hate it on your team, so you can hate on mine. There you go.
look, the only reason I say the Bears is there's no hatred towards them. I hope they do good. I hope Caleb succeeds. I just think when you look at the Commanders, I see a path. It's not a very difficult one. I mean, to be honest, the Eagles O-line has to look bad. Giants continue to look bad, and Cowboys are inconsistent like they are every other year. And then you go to the Cardinals. I think that they're probably the most likely to win their division. I just feel like the Super Bowl hangover, and maybe the Rams aren't as good as what we think.
And they've had some injuries in LA.
Right. And then also, I think that the Panthers, like you mentioned, Dylan, is their division's just terrible. And then when you add Dave Canales to the Panthers, I think that it might give them a little bit of a Geno Smith effect, which they did not lose their division that year, as a matter of fact. So I don't think that they're as good as those Seahawks are. I just think that they're going to be a little bit better than what they were last year, enough to propel them to better chances of winning the division than what the Bears are, where they have to face the vaunted Lions now, which feels crazy to say when 2 years ago they were terrible. And the Packers. I really do feel like the Packers are just going to have a crazy good season. It's just a gut feeling. I don't know what it is, but
Yeah, I mean, morale is definitely high around Green Bay. Um, I I don't hate it. I don't agree with it, but again, we're talking about worst to first. It's hard to be
Right.
like, you're wrong. The Bears are going to turn it around this year.
I'm sure we'll get
Yeah.
some of that. All three of us will get some of that at some point.
Yeah,
But-
I hope so.
Yeah. Just real quick to end the video, both of you guys, who would you say is the most likely to win their divisions, the AFC and the NFC?
All of them are like worst to first.
The teams that we've mentioned, of course.
I mean, Cincy in
Yeah,
the
I was
AFC.
gonna say Cincy too. I mean, they
Throw them out because I feel like that's like
yeah,
way
yeah,
too
throw them out.
like.
Then throw Cincy out.
Then who?
It's hard. I mean,
I know I'm throwing this on you, but take your time.
No. I I am debating between three teams right now. I think I'd say the Titans. And I just think less dominoes need to fall because I think they're a team I could easily see getting second in their division. And if Stroud got hurt, now it's wide open. Because for the Chargers, we talked about that. The Mahomes and the Chiefs juggernaut. For the Patriots, there's three good teams in their division that many would say are just clearly a step ahead. For the Panthers, I think the Buccaneers and the Falcons are both a step ahead of them realistically. The Cardinals, if healthy, you need the Rams and the Niners. I just think for the Titans, they could be fourth to second this year easily. And if there's an injury to Houston, you could be fourth to first like that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you on the Titans pick. And then in the NFC, I would say it's the Cardinals. That's just me personally. But Bryce, what are your two picks?
so the NFC, I'm gonna go completely opposite you. Even though I picked the Lions to win that division, I'm gonna say it's the Bears. I have to.
I would say Panthers. I didn't throw out NFC, but I would say Panthers for the record.
You mentioned it slightly.
Okay.
I caught your joke.
Okay.
But I mean, the Bears have that roster that can win games. Like we said, like if everything goes right, if Caleb Williams is what he is, that defense plays good. I mean, the Bears can, if they split with the Lions 1-1, split with the Packers. Like, I mean, I know they play the Chiefs early on. They have a few tough games, but I mean, besides that Chiefs game, every game's pretty much winnable for them. So I think like they in the NFC, I feel like they probably have roster wise the best chance of winning that division. I don't like it. I think the Lions still win it.
I hear your case.
The Bears got a bad shake when it comes to the Packers this year too, because when the Packers play them in Chicago, the Packers are coming off a bye. And they're not. Fun fact.
All right.
But yeah, for the AFC, it's got to be the Titans for me too. Like, I mean, I don't see the Patriots.
So we agree on the least.
Yeah,
most
I mean, if we're throwing out the Bengals, it's got to be the Titans because I mean, the AFC West is the Chiefs. The AFC East has three teams that can go to the playoffs. So, I mean, yeah, it's got to be the Titans.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's it, guys. We made it to the end of the video. That wraps it up for us. That is the worst to first. Thank you all for watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, whatever you're doing. We appreciate it. Dylan with Dylan Mel NFL. Thank you for coming on, man. We appreciate you coming on.
Appreciate you guys having me. Appreciate you hopping on my channel to debate Jalen Hurts too. So
yeah, that's another thing, guys, is that we actually did just do another video with Dylan on his channel. So check him out at Dylan Mel NFL. It rhymes, so it's easy to remember. Go ahead, like all this stuff. Drop some comments. Leave comments on this video. What you thought? Are we crazy? Probably a little bit. Yeah, that's it, guys.
Gotta be
Appreciate
in the NFL.
it. Before we leave, make sure you go ahead and please help us reach our goal. We want to talk to you, the fans, the players, and the coaches. We can't do that without y'all's help, so make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and share with everybody you know, whether they like football or not. We appreciate you guys. Deuces.